What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Catch Me If You Can. This is a movie that is based on a true story, true events. This is based on the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., who is a con artist, basically. He goes around, the U.S., conning his way around the U.S. and getting rich in the process. He cons innocent people, and he portrays himself as an airline pilot. He portrays himself as a lawyer, as a doctor, and all these different things. But it is based on a true story, and the cast in Catch Me If You Can is a remarkable cast. Leonardo DiCaprio, he plays Frank Abagnale Jr. Tom Hanks plays the FBI agent who tracks down Frank Abagnale Jr. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors of all time. You have Christopher Walken, who plays Frank Abagnale Sr., the father. You have Amy Adams, who plays the fiancée of Frank Abagnale Jr. You have small roles from Elizabeth Banks. She plays a small role in this movie. It really is just an all-star cast in this film. This film is directed by Steven Spielberg. I mean, Steven Spielberg, he's considered one of the greatest directors of all time. I mean, his body of work speaks for itself. Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Lincoln, E.T., great movies that this guy's done. And he just does it again with Catch Me If You Can, but I'll get into the review. The movie starts out kind of humorously with... There's actually a game show in the 70s that Frank Abagnale Jr. appeared in. Leonardo DiCaprio portrays him, so he portrayed him in the game show. And I guess it was all about who could better be Frank Abagnale Jr. And they talked about some qualities about him and things like that. They had audience reaction. This movie kind of goes back and forth between Leonardo DiCaprio, Frank Abagnale Jr.'s escapades and is captured by Carl Haggerty, I think is his name. Tom Hanks plays that character. But the movie kind of follows the chain of events. Frank Abagnale Jr. starts out as conning his way to be an airline pilot. This is after his parents split up. He had kind of a rough go there with his parents divorcing. Christopher Walken plays Frank Abagnale Sr., and I forget who the character who plays the wife is, but the wife is French. She has an affair with one of Frank Abagnale Sr.'s friends. And understandably, this family drama, this family tension, this really gets Frank Abagnale Jr. going, and he tries to get ahead and, basically take away all his problems by conning people out of money, writing checks that bounce and, bad checks and things like that. He starts out as an airline pilot. He goes on to be a doctor, a fake doctor. He passes he cheats on the exam and goes on to become a lawyer, the bar exam in Louisiana. And that's where, during his doctor position, he falls in love with this woman played by Amy Adams, who eventually becomes his fiancée. Amy Adams' character is a nurse. DiCaprio's character is a supervisory doctor. But they get married. They're going to get married, but Carl Haggerty and his team of bank fraud FBI agents catch up to him. He escapes. Then they eventually catch up to him in France. Well, first of all, I'll talk a little bit about Carl Haggerty's character. He's very oriented to detail. He's an FBI agent who's in the bank fraud division, and his mates in the FBI really pick on him because of his area of expertise in the FBI. They pick on him about it and things like that, but this is really a cat and mouse chase between Abagnale and Carl Haggerty. Carl Haggerty does what he can. He interviews, he kind of interrogates Frank Abagnale Sr., and but I don't think Frank Abagnale Sr. really gives anything away, per se. But eventually, Carl Haggerty catches up to Frank Abagnale Jr. in France, outside of the country of all places, because they hear that he has gone from country to country bouncing checks and conning people and all that sort of thing. Before he left the country, however, he was going to get married and live a quiet life and get away from all the conning with his fiancée, Amy Adams' character. But Carl Haggerty catches up to him. He runs off. They're going to arrest him by recruiting Amy Adams' character to meet him at the airport, and they were going to, trick him into meeting her and then arrest him. He doesn't do that because he sees the FBI agents and all that sort of thing. He starts out, Abagnale Jr., he starts out really, being one step ahead of Haggerty. Really is one step ahead until France. So he gets captured. They extradite him back to the United States after he serves some jail time in France. And he's serving jail time in America. And Carl Haggerty visits him in this movie. But then he brings a check with him as evidence, to show off to Abagnale Jr. Abagnale Jr. notices that the check is fake. And he tells Haggerty. Haggerty sees the talent that Abagnale Jr. has, and he convinces the FBI to recruit him. Abagnale Jr. is going to spend the rest of his prison sentence working with the FBI in the check fraud division. And at first, Abagnale Jr. misses the thrill of the chase, essentially, running off and conning and the fun of it all. So he almost escapes. He almost goes off, with the airline pilot, where it all began, basically. And Carl Haggerty catches up to him and tells him, nobody's chasing you. I expect you back at work on Monday. Haggerty gets worried when he doesn't show up on Monday at first, but then he eventually shows up, and he continues out his sentence. He continues out working with the FBI with check fraud. And at the end, it says that he's been married for 26 years. He has a happy life, and he's made millions running check fraud companies and stuff like that, making checks that can't be messed with in any way. So he lives a happy life afterwards, and it's happily ever after for Frank Abagnale Jr. And that's the movie, basically. And it says that Carl and Frank are friends, remain close friends to this day. 2002, basically. This is a 2002 movie. This movie got 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I can definitely see why. This movie is really good. It keeps you drawn in. You're hooked to the chase and the thriller aspect of DiCaprio and Hanks. They work together as a team. the chemistry between them is good. Christopher Walken just delivers a Christopher Walken performance. Amy Adams delivers a pretty good performance. It's just a movie that works. Absolutely. This is one of Spielberg's best, in my opinion. And I've watched a few. I've watched E.T. and Lincoln. Those are the ones I've watched. But this is one of the best that I've watched from Spielberg, if not the best. And overall, my review is 5 out of 5 stars. This movie just is really, really, it's good. It really is good. I'd watch it over and over again. You know, the thrill of the chase is what drew me to this film, and I had watched parts of it before, and I had liked it. And it took me a while, actually, like it does sometimes, for me to watch the whole thing. And I did. And I wasn't disappointed at all. I really wasn't. This film's good, 5 out of 5 stars, and that's my review. D-Rock 1992, out.